It's been voted Europe's #1 travelling app. Ringcredible has finally come to Africa. Due to its sole focus on closing the gap between mobile providers and free peer-to-peer apps, it's increasingly conquering the international market, changing the costs of communication. Well, joining me in studio is the representative for Ringcredible South Africa, Dean Hein. Good to have you. Welcome to the program. All right, so we talk about Ringcredible being a travelling app. I mean, it's not necessarily you're going to find good accommodation deals. Yeah. Basically, it just allows you to make cheap phone calls wherever you are in the world. Talk to me about it.
Yes, I think the idea is to avoid the roaming charges that we generally face in making international calls. So the app is obviously looking at phoning over some sort of connectivity, whether it be a 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi. So and then obviously making calls anywhere in the world from your designated location.
Yeah, because I mean when you talk about those roaming charges, there is nothing worse than the cell phone bill you receive when you come home and you think that, it's okay, I just made a couple of calls, and then suddenly it hits you. So how exactly does this work?
Well, it works over some sort of connectivity, being the 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi, and we have a designated tariffs for each country. For example, some of the popular destinations in Europe and in China, and that the rate per call is as little as 20 cents per minute. And obviously with the look at you being able to call anywhere in the world, and the person that's receiving the call doesn't necessarily have to have the app. And you can make calls to both fixed and mobile numbers.
Okay. So how does it work? I mean, what do I do? Do I just download the app onto my phone?
Yeah, you have a version, an iOS version and an Android version, which you can download from ringcredible.co.za, or you can go to either the iStore or the Play Store, where you download the app. And on downloading the app, we have a special where you get allocated 3 minutes just for you to test it out in the beginning as well, to see how it works before you can actually purchase the credits going forward.
Okay, so you download the app for free, but you purchase credits in order to make the phone calls.
Yeah. So there's two elements. You can download. Well, you can recharge over the internet as well, using credit card or even your debit card.
Okay.
But we're also looking at it in Africa, because the market is a little bit different. Where one, the smartphone penetration is not that high, and also because people don't have the access to the credit card. We're obviously looking at distribution of vouchers using retailers and that within the South African retail market to look at distribution thereof.
Fantastic. That's a great idea. I mean, so that you can recharge when you want to.
We've also looked at, some innovative ideas for Africa, where we're looking at enabling those without smartphones. So setting up the old school kind of phone shops where we would enable people to actually come in and call. So we would have a Strumps Android phone, which is actually a cheaper version of that, and you could just make calls as and when you want to within the shops themselves. Now,
I believe that this app was actually developed in the Netherlands. Yes, that's where it all started. Yeah. So, I mean, it's taken the world by storm. Yeah,
I think in the Netherlands, they experienced over 2 million users over a period of six months.
Sure.
And one of the biggest things they're doing now, the drives, is with the airlines, where they're promoting it quite a lot with the airlines to actually get the people traveling on the KLM airline specifically to become the users of Ringcredible.
Okay, so on airlines you can actually use this as well.
Yeah. Because the people that actually do traveling are the people that go through the airlines a lot. So.
Is South Africa the first African country to get this?
Well, it's readily available globally, but I think the biggest problem is obviously the distribution, so the access to the vouchers and being able to recharge.
That's the big problem,
So this is why we're starting to look at establishing this in South Africa, and we're also moving on to the rest of Africa. So, our next point of reference would be Nigeria, to do the distribution and start looking at the retail markets that can actually help us in distributing to the communities within South Africa and Africa.
What type of technology is actually used? Because, this is obviously working on a different mechanism. How does it work?
It's actually voice over IP, but on your cell phone. So your normal VoIP call that you'd make, so you actually have to have connectivity. And in the app itself, every time you make a call, there is some level of data that is used, which is a very minimal. I think it's about 8 to 10 kilobits per second that you use for making a call. But if you have free Wi-Fi, then it becomes minimal in terms of the cost that you have for actually the data that you incur for the call itself.
Yeah. So the big cost is the data. Yeah. That's really what you're using.
Yeah, well, it's a small cost. I think the big cost is actually the call per minute. So, for example, we'd have rates for each of the countries. So, in 150 countries, on the app itself, you can actually go check the different rates for each country that'll charge you for calling that specific country. For example, in South Africa, the call is 60 cents for mobile per second, and 30 cents for fixed lines per second, per minute. Per minute.
Sorry, what was that again?
60 cents per minute.
60 cents per minute.
Yeah, so if you're calling South Africa from anywhere in the world, 60 cents per minute, and 30 cents per minute for your fixed lines.
For your fixed lines. Yeah. Fantastic. And like you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, there isn't, you are not necessarily having to call another person who has Ringcredible on their phone. Yeah. You phone landlines, you can phone any number, and that you just phone via the app. Yeah.
So it merges with the current contacts that you have. So if I had to call you and you were my contact, you would actually just pick up my name as normal, like I'm making a normal call.
Fantastic. Yeah. What are the catches? There's got to be a catch somewhere.
That's always what people say. But I mean, I think with the tariffs that you have, I mean, I think the biggest challenge we would have in the African market, if there is a catch, is that we have to get our connectivity right. I mean, I think because it uses 3G and 4G, and in some areas, in the remote areas, we don't have that kind of connectivity to be able to do that. But I mean, there's a lot of development in terms of Wi-Fi connectivity and all the infrastructure that's happening in South Africa. So that'll catch up with us while we're trying to get this up and running within the areas where we can actually, tap into the market.
Yeah, that is a big problem.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got, you don't have that, the infrastructure to handle something like this, then of course it all falls flat, and then you get complaints because people say they've already bought vouchers and they've dropped a call. And what happens in cases like that? I mean, do you sort of have protection against those complaints?
Yes, we do. I mean, I think on the app itself, you've got mechanisms to actually get in contact with us from the app itself. So we have a menu where you can do a support in whatever the case might be, and we try also to look at let people also do test calls before they actually can buy the voucher. So on your welcome from the app download, we allocate you some of our vouchers for you to test it out. So see what it's like for you. And if you're having technical problems, that's when you can actually start calling us for support purposes as well.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I think it's a great idea. Let's hope it improves a lot of people's lives when it comes to making cheaper phone calls here. And this we're talking about is Ringcredible South Africa. It's an app that's been around in Europe for a while, but it's now here. And you're able to buy credits for it, which is quite a big thing because previously you weren't able to buy it. You could download the app, but you couldn't do anything with it. But now you can download and buy credits and use it. So Dean Hein talking to us about this #1 traveling app in the world with, what, about 2.9 million subscribers? Yes. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 2.9 million subscribers in about 150, 60 odd countries.
160 countries. How long has it been in South Africa for now?
Oh, well, we've started in about, I think, end of October, but I think we had a lot of training, the internal process that we needed to sort out before we could actually go to market. So I think from this year, we've just started going to market since, I mean, I think December, we started looking at how we can start partnering with things like distributions, because we've got to look at distributions of vouchers. How do we enable those low-end, or people without smartphones to be able to actually also benefit from the app.
Okay.
So it's putting all those in place and starting to look at how we can, stretch this further, because the market in South Africa or in Africa is a bit different to that of Europe.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a slow uptake, not as yet as big as we wanted, but hopefully this year we'll see it taking off quite a bit. Thanks very much again, Dean. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's take a break. We'll see you after this. We're talking Wi-Fi. Stay tuned.